Good evening. Welcome to the special board meeting for this evening. Mr. Tornello, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Bear?
Here.
Mrs. Bear?
Here.
Mr. Eady?
Here.
Mr. Roskis?
Here.
Mrs. Schatzman?
Here.
Mrs. Menser?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Do I hear a motion to approve our agenda?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve our agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Madam President, I motion to second the approval of the agenda.
Discussion? Mr. Tornello?
Mrs. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Eady?
Yes.
Mr. Roskis?
Yes.
Mrs. Schatzman?
Yes.
Mrs. Menser?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to 3A, Community Reinvestment Area Compensation Agreement. Do I hear a motion to approve 3A?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve 3A.
Do I hear a second?
Madam President, I will second item 3A.
Discussion?
I just wanted to thank everyone who worked with us in the city to come to a mutually agreeable resolution so that our school is kept whole during this project in years 11 through 15, and I really appreciate everyone's hard work on that.
I just kind of want to second that. You know, this is like the community building that we've talked about. And although it didn't go exactly the way that some may had thought the first time, this is just a way to prove that, you know, this school district is, and the administration and everybody here does want to build on these community relationships. So thank you also.
Any further discussion? Mr. Tornello, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Eady?
Yes.
Mr. Roskis?
Yes.
Mrs. Schatzman?
Yes.
Mrs. Menser?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Do I hear a motion to approve 3B, Community Reinvestment Area Agreement?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve item 3B.
Do I hear a second?
Madam President, I motion, I second for 3B.
Discussion? Mr. Tornello?
Mrs. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Eady?
Yes.
Mr. Roskis?
Yes.
Mrs. Schatzman?
Yes.
Mrs. Menser?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Do I hear a motion to approve 3C, adjourn to executive session?
Madam President, I make a motion for 3C, adjourn to executive session.
Do I hear a second?
Madam President, I second item 3C.
Discussion? Mr. Tornello?
Mrs. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Eady?
Yes.
Mr. Roskis?
Yes.
Mrs. Schatzman?
Yes.
Mrs. Menser?
Yes.